turn it on.
Yeah. Ha ha ha. All right. We are in Revelation chapter 7. Now, the last several weeks, we've covered the first 6 seals. Seals 1 through 4 are the what? Do you remember? The 4 horses, yes. Little ponies, right? There's war pony, death pony, pestilence pony, famine pony, ghastly green pony, all these different names, right? So Christ ascends to the right hand of the Father. The first seal, the second seal, the third seal, the fourth seal is opened, and war and conquering, etc., go out upon the earth, right? Jerusalem itself is conquered in 70 AD, and the people are led into slavery, into diaspora. They're scattered throughout all the earth, right? That's why you have Jews in all over the Middle East. You have them in Africa. You have them in Europe. You have them in Russia. You have them in Iran even. I think there's an old Jewish community there. So they're scattered, right? And then, of course, the war and the conquering and the death and the mayhem, the pestilence is spread throughout the entire world, right? The fifth seal, does anybody remember what the fifth seal was? Martyrdom, right? So one of the consequences of the 4 horsemen is that the church is suffering, right? And there are martyrs being made. And I talked a little bit about many of the early Roman emperors. Some tolerated Christians. They actually thought Christianity was a type of atheism. They didn't understand it. They thought it was maybe a Jewish sect or a splinter group within Judaism. There are even letters written between governors and emperors about what do we do with these Christians. They eat a man's flesh and drink his blood. They thought it was some kind of like death cult where they were like had a cadaver and we were cannibalistically carving up, they didn't understand it because it was so different than any pagan religion, right? And so there's been martyrs made in the Colosseum and throughout the world. Even today, Africa, the Middle East, there are martyrs being made, right? So that's the fifth seal. The sixth seal, does anybody remember what that was?
Heavens open up.
The what?
The heavens open up.
Yes, so it's a slingshot forward. So the first 5 seals are happening upon the earth, and then the martyrs are going before the throne of God. And then the 6 slingshots to the end. What it's going to be like on the day of wrath, St. John calls it. Well, of course, he's using language from the Old Testament. The day of reckoning, the day of wrath, right? It's going to be so bad when the wrath of the Lamb comes upon the earth and the one who sits on the throne, they'll want to hide their face from God, hide from the wrath of the Lamb, even so much that they'd rather be buried alive. They'd rather have the mountains fall upon them than be crushed and killed than to face God in the judgment, right? Such it will be on the day of wrath at Christ's return. So now we're getting into a period where there's an interlude. So there's going to be the 6 seals, and now there's an interlude in the vision before we get to the 7th seal in chapter 8. Does someone want to read?
Now, when you talk about an interlude, does that mean a calming?
It means like a pause.
Is that what the people sometimes think of? Oh, what do you call it? Where these people say that God comes and reigns for a certain length of time?
No, yeah, we'll talk about that later on. Yeah,
I just
look at it this way: when you were just a few years ago, when you were a little bit younger, did you go see Gone with the Wind?
Yes.
And they had a what? An interlude, or what else was it called? Intermission.
Thank you, Ken.
They do that almost in the 4 hours.
Yeah, so when you get when you start pushing 3.5 hours, 4 hours.
You need a potty break.
You need a potty break, right? So this is like an intermission, an interlude, where it's an expansion on what's happening upon the earth and then eventually what's happening in the heavens, right? But we're not to the seventh seal yet, all right? So, all right, so can someone run to read chapter 7, verses 1 through 8?
After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth, that no wind might blow on earth or sea or against any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God, and he called with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm earth and sea, saying, "Do not harm the earth or the sea." Oh, I just lost my...
Nor the trees.
Or the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of the sealed, 144,000, sealed from every tribe of the sons of Israel. 12,000 from the tribe of Judah were sealed, 12,000 from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 from the tribe of Gad, 12,000 from the tribe of Asar, 12,000 from the tribe of Nepalti, or whatever that is.
Naphtali.
Okay. 12,000 from the tribe of
Manasseh.
Okay. 12,000 from the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 from the tribe of Levi, 12,000 from the tribe of Ishkar, 12,000 from the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 from the tribe of Joseph, and 12,000 from the tribe of Benjamin were sealed.
Very good. All right.
Boy, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, you chose a tough passage there. All right.
Is that the order they were age-wise?
No, we're going to talk about that here.
I'm
There's
just curious because that is all the brothers, right?
well, no.
Or some of them, I should say.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to it. Yeah, there's John gives us a different list than we get from Moses,
Okay.
and we're gonna talk about why that is. Right. All right. So first of all, we have the symbolism of the 4 angels and 4 corners. Right. Now, is John a flat earther? No, that's not. He's not giving us a shape. It's symbolic. Remember earlier we had 4 living creatures. There's a lot of numbers or numerical symbolism being used in Revelation here, just as there is in like Daniel and Ezekiel, right? It's apocalyptic literature. There's symbolism in here. So there's 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding what? 4 winds. Many of the early church fathers described that as the angels, because remember there's judgment going on. The angels are holding back the elements, right? In the early Jewish apocalyptic literature, early church apocalyptic literature, there's a lot of discussion about angels being in charge of certain aspects of creation, right? They almost make creation run. You know, what do you do in a creation where asteroids and comets are going any which way? You know, how do things stay orderly? How do we keep from getting wiped out, so to speak? You always see these stories from scientists periodically. They're saying, "Oh my God, there's an asteroid coming and we're going to die."
There's just one just exploded over Ohio this last week.
Yeah, and it went, well, another one
Over
went,
Iowa?
Ohio. And then one
That's
happened.
next door.
Did they survive?
No, it blew up in that.
Yeah. But Ohio survived,
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's still there.
They're still there. Somebody check on Ohio. So they're always freaking out, right? I mean, just a few months ago, there was a large interstellar body headed this way. I can't even remember what it is. They gave it a name. And they were even saying, like, oh, it's moving in a weird way. Like, could this be an alien mothership, you know? And all these nonsense distractions that the government and the media does, right? Hey, look over here, squirrel, right? Meanwhile, we're bombing the Middle East. Oh, don't look at bombing the Middle East. Look over here, you know? So there is this idea that the angels are heavily involved in the creation. So here they're pictured, 4 angels at the 4 corners of the earth holding back 4 winds, right? So that what should not blow wind upon the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees. Right? And now a 5th angel shows up. And I saw another angel, so we know that this is not, in Greek the word is another. It's not one of the 4 angels holding back the 4. There's another angel who what is coming from the rising of the sun. Where does the sun rise? So he's coming out of the east. John is on the island of Patmos in the midst of the Mediterranean Sea, which is, Patmos is it east or southeast of modern day Turkey, something like that. But anyways, this angel is coming out of the rising of the sun, having what? A seal. All right, now, John would know exactly what the seal is, right? Remember, there is one who sits on the throne. In the ancient world, the Oriental or ancient kings all had a seal, right? Perhaps you've seen this portrayed in various Hollywood movies, right? Sometimes it's on his ring. So if you get, sometimes guys will be like, ooh, I want to get a family crest ring. Like it's like the family seal, right? So you have a document, a scroll, you pour the wax on the scroll.
And you seal it.
You set the seal so that if anyone breaks the seal, right, they have, that's they die, in case you didn't know what that is. Yes?
I need a question answered. If we have these angels doing what they're doing, where is it they're holding back the wind and all this? What is it then that couldn't God do all this? Or is he instructing the angels to be doing this?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, if you think about it, he makes the creation to be inhabited by creatures, right? And there's different kinds of creatures. And they all have a different role in creation, right? So part of the joy of making the creation is having creatures. And I know it's some people's dream to lay around and do nothing, but we need to have something to do. Otherwise, have you ever gone stir crazy? You're like, I've sat in this chair too long, or I've been laying around too long. I need to go do something, right? So the angels have roles, right? There's the different classes of angels have different roles, kind of like almost like a military organization, you know.
Okay.
Privates do different things than sergeants, and sergeants do different things than majors, and majors do different things than generals, you know. So the creation has creatures, and creatures have a role to play, right? Like even that bird out there that's pooping all over the handle and the...
Yeah, he was here the other day and Jerry tried to chase him off.
Right.
He didn't leave.
Right, he's pooping all over the sidewalk out there. He's a robin, and robins have a role, even though
They're looking for a mate.
we don't like certain aspects of what robins do.
They
But
bob.
what?
They bob. Bob, 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 along.
Right. So yes, angels have jobs to do. Yes. All right. So the king has a seal, right? And it's the seal of who? Of the living God. So he's talking about the Father here. So the angel has the seal of the Father, and the angel what cries with a mega voice. A voice mega, it says in Greek. To the 4 angels, so he calls out to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to them to harm the earth and the sea, right? So they're restraining the 4 winds. They're restraining the very elements. And he's like, release it. No. He says, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees. What? Archi in Greek. Akri, until we seal So he's got the seal of the Father until we angels seal the doulos tou theou, the slaves of the Father, or the servants of the Father, depending upon what translation word you want to use, upon the foreheads of them. So they're going to seal upon the earth using the signet ring, or maybe it's a stamped seal. John doesn't tell us. Sometimes a king's seal is like this brass or copper weight, and they press it down into clay or whatever. We don't know if it's a signet ring or that kind of, we don't know what kind of seal
So
it is.
they're going to do this on people's foreheads?
Yes.
And they'll be embedded forever?
Well, it could be that only God and the angels can see the seal.
Okay.
Right? You see that in Scripture actually happening quite a bit too. Right? Because later on it's going to talk about writing names on foreheads too. Right? And I don't know that that's quite visible. Right? Except to God. On the foreheads of them, and I heard the number of the ones having been sealed. Now in Greek, this word here is in the perfect tense, and as I've been trying to teach you, the perfect tense is point action with ongoing effect forever. So they've been sealed at a point in time, but that sealing goes on forever. So in other words, these are Christians who are going to continue on being sealed by the Father, right? They are slaves or servants of the Father. And I heard their number of the ones having been sealed, 144,000, having been sealed from every pases, from all the tribes of the sons of Israel. Now, in the year of our Lord 2026, there's some confusion over who Israel is. Some argue that, even Christians argue that Israel is only a genetic Jewish offspring proper. Right? I got to have some of Abraham's DNA in me. Right? Others argue, which is actually the majority of the Christian church, going all the way back to the beginning, even we can prove it from the scriptures, from Romans and Galatians and I think Philippians and also the book of Revelation here, and even from the Old Testament, that the Israel of God is the holy Christian church. Because salvation is both not only just for Jews, but it's also for Gentiles. Right? Matter of fact, Abraham's own name, when he goes from Abram to Abraham means father of the, and this is right in the Hebrew, the father, we could call it the father of nations or multitudes, but the actual Hebrew word is goy, which is a pejorative among some nowadays, but it's the Gentiles. So Abraham is father of the multitudes, the nations. Abraham is father of the goy. Matter of fact, Jew proper is a name that doesn't come in until several generations later because of those of the tribe of Judah. So often, even in the Old Testament, there's a reference to Israel, speaking of 12 tribes and 12 brothers, right? But there's also Israel, and then there's Judah. You often see them mentioned in the same passages, but there's a distinction between them. Because of the same distinction going all the way back to when Israel, the one Israel, Jacob becomes Israel because he wrestles with Yahweh, right? When Jacob/Israel goes to die, he puts his hand on the brothers and he departs them either a blessing or a curse, right? And a prophecy, if you will. And Judah is going to carry the seed, the zerah, the offspring in his genetic material of the future Christ. Messiah, Mashiach, Christos in Greek, right? Who is none other than Jesus of Nazareth. Very good. All right. So, who is the Israel of God? Well, the early church has always argued that it's the Holy Christian Church, which consists of both Jew and Gentile. And next week I'll have a handout for you that'll go in a little bit more in depth here, because we're not even going to be able to get through this whole chapter, right? So, there's 144,000 that have been sealed, right? So, let's talk about this a little bit. All right, does that mean there's only going to be exactly 144,000 sealed? No. It's a number of completeness, right? The walls of the New Jerusalem are 144 cubits high, right? There's all this imagery. What's a cubit? Does anybody know what a cubit is? In the ancient world, a length of measurement. The length of your elbow to your
But what if some people had
It's about
longer
18
ones?
inches, yep.
What if somebody had longer ones?
How long is it? Let's compare arms. Oh, I'm about an inch longer than yours, all right? And so
But see, that probably is the man's arm.
if I'm an NBA basketball player and I compare, he's probably got, you ever seen a picture of Julius Erving's hands?
Yeah, they're huge.
Like probably half again is the size of mine. Michael Jordan had huge hands, right? So it's not
18 inches.
Yeah, it's about 18 inches, right? So if I measure mine, the Magic Johnson's elbow to his fingertips is probably longer than mine. But
His feet are probably that big.
yes, in the ancient world, it was roughly an 18-inch measurement. So you times 18 times 144, and you get how high the walls are of the New Jerusalem, right? Probably over 200 feet tall, right? The 144,000 is to signify completeness. Now, another thing here is we have to see, and we're going to get into this next week, is that there is a difference between those who are upon the earth, the ones who are having been sealed and continue to be sealed. That is the church militant. So the 144,000 is the church militant. Does anybody know what the phrase church militant means? Have you ever heard that phrase before? The church militant are the Christians who are still in the flesh upon the earth, and they have not died, nor have they been resurrected, right? They're here on earth. Matter of fact, if you go into your hymnal, go into your Lutheran service book hymnal this morning, and you start flipping through the pages, in the top right-hand corner, there are topics for the hymns. Some sections are trust, hope, and comfort. Others are praise and adoration. There's even hymns for the various church seasons, like Advent, Easter. There's Lent hymns.
Christmas.
But there's a section in there, if you notice, where the hymn says, Church Militant. Those hymns are about our struggle here below. So the 144,000 are Christians that are still upon the earth, right? They've been sealed by the angel who has the seal of the one who sits on the throne. They are slaves or servants of God, but they are still on the earth. They are not in heaven. Why? Because verse 9, the vision that we're going to get to next week, changes, and now it moves to, in the interlude period, to the myriad upon myriad, the great crowd, the number that could not be counted, out of every nation and tribe and tongue and people and languages, right? Who are before the throne and before the Lamb, having been clothed with white robes and palm branches in their hands. We'll get to that next week because next week's Palm Sunday. It's funny how the Lord worked that out, right? So we're going to stop here at verse 8. The 144,000 is the Church Militant. That's you. You say, I am the Church Militant. You've got your marching orders, right? What are they doing? They're living in the midst of a world where the four horsemen, right, are at work, where there are martyrs being made, fifth seal. We are not to the point of the sixth seal yet, let alone the seventh, right? But they're in the world. The angels are looking out for them. They are servants of the Father, slaves of God, and they are sealed and will be continued to be sealed. Now, last thing here about this list. If you compare this list to the Old Testament lists, you'll notice there are some variations. And this goes to Steve's question. Do you see Dan anywhere in the list? Dan is one of the 12 tribes. Do you see Ephraim anywhere? No. Matter of fact, when it gets to the later on in the Pentateuch, Moses and the distribution of the land, Dan was to receive a portion of the land. Ephraim was supposed to receive a portion of the... But notice here, John's list, right? Levi also was not to receive a portion of the land. But John adds Levi back in, and he takes away from Dan and Ephraim. Okay, why does he do that? And why does he put Joseph back in when Joseph dies in Egypt, and his bones are in Egypt, and Benjamin dies and his bones are in Egypt, right?
Does he have a preference for why he does that?
Yeah, we're going to get into it next week, because we're running out of time. But Levi in the Old Testament does not get an inheritance. His inheritance, his role is different. He does not get a portion of the land. And we'll talk a little bit about the pros and the cons, right? They didn't have to pay the taxes either. So if you got the land, congratulations, but you also get the taxes, right? You're like, oh, don't tell me about it, Pastor. I got property taxes due coming up, right? But then also Dan is removed. Well, we're going to talk about why next week. Dan is removed specifically because of the horrific idolatry that later flows out of... They even start making idols again in their territory. And they lead Israel astray, right? And why is Ephraim not included? We'll get into that next week. So, Church Militant, symbolic of 144,000 who have been sealed by the angel who holds the seal of the Father, and they continue to be sealed. All right? The vision now will shift to the church triumphant. So, your Christian loved ones who kept the faith, Bob, right? All of our Christian loved ones who kept the faith all the way to the end of their lives received the crown of life. They received the victor's crown. They're before the throne of... Bob's up there right now. All your loved ones are up there right now. All the Christian loved ones. And they're saying, how long, O Lord? How long, O Lord? And just wait a little while longer. Here's your white robe. Relax. Jesus is saying, we're going to get there, right? We're not to the end yet. But they're fully conscious. If anybody tries to convince you of a doctrine called soul sleep, where your beloved are laid in the ground and their body's asleep and their soul's asleep, that's false. These people are perfectly conscious and awake, and they're talking to God, right? So St. Paul says when you die, you are caught up in the twinkling of an eye. You're not going to roam around on earth haunting people. Woo, woo. No, just forget that, right? You're going to be in the blink of an eye, you're going to be with God in heaven, right? But they're waiting for the resurrection of the flesh, right? So, from every nation, every tribe, every people, every tongue, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, they're clothed in white robes, they have palm branches in their hands. And we're going to get into what is the church triumphant doing when we're down here suffering, right? All right, any questions? All right, go in peace, serve the Lord. Thank you. Verse 9 next week.
Okay, Pastor.
Yes.
Who's Dan?
The tribe of Dan. Not Dan down the street in Columbia City.
When you first